The biggest challenge in your mind upon taking over the team was what?
I remember a story that Paul Tagliabue told me. Two things. At the closing, he said, you realize, and I didn't realize this, he said, your team, and this is at the closing, he said, your team has never had back-to-back winning seasons. So I said, well, that can't be correct. I mean, it's been, franchise has been in existence for 36 years. Go back and check. And Paul's the smartest guy in the room. He was always the smartest guy. And I don't mean a smart aleck. He just really was the smartest person in the room. So I said, ooh, he may be right. So I found out he was right. We never had back-to-back winning seasons. So that, from a football standpoint, that was really a challenge. From a business standpoint, there were 30 teams, 31 teams operating in the NFL then. The Houston Texans had gotten their franchise, had awarded their franchise, but were not operating then. So there were 31 other teams operating at that time. And if you did kind of a forced listing of teams based on revenue, local revenue, the Atlanta Falcons would have ranked something like 47 or 48 out of 31. So we were like so far below the averages for the league, it was awful. So I remember I had some issues then with the then head coach. I wasn't sure he was going to be the right guy for us going forward, but I remember the commissioner saying, it's your franchise, you do what you want. But given your business background, I would suggest you focus on what you can resolve earlier rather than later, take care of the business side of it. And the business side of it was the story that Robert Kraft told me, which was absolutely true, that when he played us that year before, that fall before, I had breakfast with him in December, that same fall, and he said, stadium was 60% full, so 40% of it was empty. And of the 60% that was there, half of those people were rooting for our team. So you had 30% of the building that was actually rooting for you. You had no home field advantage, zero. Mm-hmm. And so, I knew how to relate to customers, through HD, and these were, fans were customers. They're all kind of the same thing to me. It's people we were serving. And so I brought in one of our senior management folks from HD that was ready to move on, and his name is Dick Sullivan, who now runs our PGA business for us. And Dick and I developed, a program. I spent some time with the players talking about, what we had to do. And I knew you never want to see an NFL owner drawing up plays and picking players during the draft or free agency. That's ugly. That really is not, is not a good situation. So I knew there needed to be a bright line. I needed to have the best football people that I could find and hire them and leave them alone, let them do their job, make sure they had salary cap resources and everything else. And we've always spent right up to the salary cap since I've been the owner. The best personnel departments, the best fields, the best everything. So they could attract the best players. And then on the business side, given my background, basically find out, city then now is close to 7 million, then it was 5.5 million. Why were people not coming to the games? Everybody in the building had a theory on why people weren't coming. So I said to them, respectfully, I don't really care too much about what you all telling me because you've been doing this for a while without a lot of success. And I don't really care too much about why the 55,000 or 50,000 people that were coming to a 71,000 seat building, why they were coming. What I do want to know about is there's another 5 million people, over 5 million people that are not coming. Why are they not coming? So we did a bunch of research and extensively and focus interviews, community interviews, stuff in the marketplace. And basically it came down to like 5 or 6 things. It wasn't like 600 things. It was 5 or 6 things that a fan said, well, if you did these things differently, we would come. They wanted better pricing. They wanted to have, they wanted to feel more secure. They wanted parking. There were things, everything that we could control. It wasn't stuff that other people would control. We could control. And so we gave them those things, and they responded. They have to feel that the owner will, turn over every leaf, every rock, do everything they can possibly do to provide a winning team to the franchise.